2-2. Vinny Tortorich here. Hey man, if you're a fan of Izzy, you might be a fan of me too. I'm the guy that gets people to lose a lot of weight. I have something free for you guys. This is no clickbait. Just go to VinnyTortorich.com and there's a big banner. It's a free PDF, How to Lose Weight. It's an intro guide to NSNG at VinnyTortorich.com. Go check it out exclusively for anyone who listens to Izzy Presley. Thank you.
Replay Guitar Exchange is your premier independent guitar store. Being independent is good. With all of the major brands, including new, vintage, and pre-owned, you can find the guitar, bass, amp, or accessory you are dreaming of. From vintage to the newest models, Replay Guitar Exchange can help you find that perfect piece. They have industry veteran expert staff, all players like you down to the owner. You aren't just getting a great guitar, you're getting the Replay difference. Find them online at replayguitar.com and find your dream guitar today. Rockwood Saloon Authentic Apparel takes rock and roll fashion to a new level with their tees and tanks for men and women. They also make custom shirts, jackets, vests, pants, hoodies, beanies, and more. The Rockwood Graphics Department can design anything from your logo, t-shirt design, promo posters, band swag, and printed at great prices. From tour shirts and custom stage gear to killer threads for the street to the stage, Rockwood Saloon has it all. Rockwood Saloon, authentic rock and roll apparel for stage and street. World tour tested for quality, comfort, style, and durability. Check them out at www.rockwoodsaloon.com. That's rockwoodsaloon.com.
Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
You kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games, don't you see? People today have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds.
See, son, old legends never die. They just lose weight.
Like a legend and an out-of-work bum with a lot of life.
Yes, it is party time. Hello, Hollywood. Hello, world. Hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and as always, good to be seen in a very special Saturday afternoon, which is morning to me, 3 p.m. here in California in Los Angeles. Got Anthony Corder from TORA TORA. How you doing, buddy?
Hello from Nashville.
Good to see you. Oh, you're in Nashville. You're not in Memphis right now. All right. Well, Anthony's going to be joining us. Well, he's here, but we're going to be wrapping with him in just a couple seconds here. Make sure you do check out all the social media, Another Effing Podcast on Facebook, and Izzy Presley 1 on Facebook to find out everything I'm doing entertainment-wise, like Soundcheck Live. It is usually the last Wednesday of every month at Lucky Strike Live in Hollywood. This month, it is going to be this last Saturday, and we got something huge that is going to warrant a Saturday show in Hollywood. So I can't spill the beans because it hasn't been announced, but is going to be fucking huge. So check that out. And of course, I am leaving on Monday, which is why I'm doing this show on Saturday, heading back to Minneapolis to do a couple shows up in the old greater Minnesota area. Friday the 18th at Stoney's in Rockville with a tribute to Ace Frehley. That is the Midwest edition with Pete Campbell on drums, Sean Shaver from Slow Children, and Greg Edom from Obsession. And Pete, of course, plays with the iconic metal band Pentagram. And we'll be playing the 19th at the Doghouse in Maplewood, Minnesota. That is along with Black Rainbow, which is a tribute to Ronnie James Dio, and also Devil's Rejects, which is a tribute to Rob Zombie. And also, if you do want to support the show, you absolutely can, not only by supporting the sponsors, but monetarily, because I do not make a dime off this show. I get some cool shit from my sponsors, but I don't make a dime off this show. So you can send me money at paypal.me/Izzy Presley, and anybody that does donate, I will absolutely send you my Waze directions. That is me. I recorded myself doing Waze while taking a shit. So you can get that. So anybody that sends me money, paypal.me/Izzy Presley, donate to the show, and I will definitely get you taken care of. Anthony Corder, Tora Tora, now Monsters of Rock Cruise. Now Monsters of Rock Cruise veterans. And
Wow.
And returning.
We took our Virgin voyage, man. It was freaking amazing. It was the most incredible experience, man. I got to do a hat tip to April Lee. She had talked to us for a long time about joining the cruise, and logistics wise and everything with the band, we were dying to do it. And so we just blocked out some time to do it. We just said, hey, we actually were talking a year ahead of time and just said, guys, let's plan and go. And it was the best decision of our life. We loved it. We loved seeing the fans. We loved being a part of the Monsters of Rock groups. And Larry, thanks so much to him for inviting us to be a part of it. It was amazing, man. Our bass player, Patrick Francis, had gone through kind of a health scare. He had been diagnosed with cancer the end of 2016. And so we had done a benefit concert for him in Memphis at a place, Minglewood Hall. And he got the all clear. Thank God they caught everything early. When you're kind of our age and you kind of had the lifestyle we've had, you just think something about your health, you kind of freak out a little bit. And but everything was fine. He got all clear from the doctor. So we just went for it.
Well, and the thing that's great about this cruise, especially for bands like you, that you guys aren't out there touring.
Right.
And it's a chance for you guys to get out and play outside of Memphis, because you guys usually just only play in Memphis, right?
Yeah, we had only done a few one-offs. We took like kind of a big break, and we've all known each other since high school, man. I mean, we got signed. I was 17 or 18 years old when we started working with the studios and getting ready to get signed. And so we just decided, we said, hey, man, let's take the opportunity to go on the things that make sense where we can go see the fans. The first big one was Rocklahoma back in 2008.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of out. And we were doing a few one-offs a year, but this past year, when we did the Monster Rock thing, it just kind of revitalized us. I mean, just the sheer fact of Patrick getting on the boat and he couldn't wipe that shit-eating grin off his face, walking around, seeing the fans, seeing the other bands we were fans of. I mean, we were just revitalized. We were like, man, I want to go. Let's go do this. And so we got a little more busy last year. And that led to some other opportunities. Over the summer last year, we were contacted by Frontiers Records. We negotiated a contract with them and signed in November. So that led to us doing some recording this year. We're hoping to wrap everything up by the end of summer and then have a great year out on the road next year. So we're super pumped about that.
How long, you said you guys knew each other in high school. Wow, somebody says they can't hear anything, but I can hear everything. It looks like everything's going through. So it must be your problem, Jim, wherever you're checking in from, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
He can't hear you, obviously, so don't even say hi to him.
Dang it, Jim.
He'll listen back. He'll get it. You said you guys were, you're in the studio getting ready to get signed. How long did it take you guys to get that jump to get signed? Especially because you're in Memphis. You guys were in Memphis at the time, right?
Yeah. Oh, you mean in the very beginning?
Yeah, in the very beginning.
So we were together about 2 years.
Okay.
So the 86, 87 range, right around in there, we were together recording, kind of messing around. Actually, Keith and Patrick had a band before Tora Tora. It was called Lycanthrope.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's ever told y'all this story.
No. This is all new to me.
But it was like it was a dual guitar thing, and it was kind of like an Iron Maiden, Judas Priest kind of heavy thing. And so they branched off to do a new project. And they were a couple of years older than me. I was in like 10th or 11th grade when I met them. And to me, they were like seasoned veterans, man. They had gone into like some school recording place and done some recording. And I was just like a neighborhood kid singing in some garage bands. And the first time that I went over to meet them, I was kind of a crooner. I kind of wanted to do acoustic, kind of hippie stoner music, And I went over and played like Desperado or something. I was going to win them over with my singing, a ballad or something. And I knew like some Dokken and things like that. But they said, man, that's awesome. But do you know, I Want You to Want Me? Do you know ZZ Tush, ZZ Top? Do you know Aerosmith? They did 2112. They actually asked me to sing the, side of the record. Wow. And I was
So,
put on this.
wait. They want you to do 21-12. So you guys are only planning on playing in front of guys at that point, then, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And we were in Patrick's living room. We had
Okay.
a PA set up, and they were meeting me for the first time. Patrick and I went to the same high school, and then Keith and John went to the same high school. And actually, man, as we reflected back, that played a huge part in us getting in front of people, getting in front of the people for Battle of the Bands, and getting ourselves in the studios and all that, is because we had an instant following in Memphis because we mixed these high school kids together. And whenever we would play somewhere, they would all show up, and they were from different areas of the city, and they all kind of got to mingle and got to know each other, and they would come to every event that we did. So we kind of had a built-in audience, and then of course the notorious warehouse rehearsal place that we had. That's when we really started knocking it out of the park, nailing it down, because we were doing our rehearsals and we would open them up to the kids that were underage, didn't have anywhere to go see live music. So they would come to our rehearsals. And what it was is our guitar player, Keith, his dad owned a glue factory, and he put these 55-gallon drum glue barrels in there. They were empty. And we pushed them all to one end of the building, put plywood on the top, hung some black garbage bags, and hung them all garbage bags all down the wall. And man, we created like a little club. We had our own PA system. His dad bought us a big PA system, and we put it in there. And we actually showcased for A&M and Virgin and Polygram and everybody in this building. And what happened is, when you look back on it now, is we were kind of like little entrepreneurs. We kind of created our own little bubble, and we got 2 football players from Ole Miss ran the door. So if we had any issues, they put everybody out in the parking lot to fight it out. We gave them all the beer they could drink. Of course. The money. And so we did one party, and we had a band open for us, and it was a Halloween party, and everybody came dressed up. There was, Playboy bunnies and all kind of people dressed up. We did it one time with the band, and then from then on, it was just us. It was a private party, and we were next door to the Coliseum in Memphis. So we tried to space our parties out to where there would be a show at the Coliseum, and we caught all the overflow parking. And so when the concert was over, we'd start crank up and get everybody come and party with us.
Dude, that's unbelievable. Just for a bunch of fucking kids to put that whole thing together.
It was wild.
And that's what got you guys noticed.
Right. Yeah, we won some studio time. We were in a competition, like a local radio station had a battle of bands, and we won some studio time at Ardent Studios. We had been working at a place called Powerhouse Studios with a guy named Steve Hoth. And he had kind of introduced us into, we were creating a little EP, a little 5-song EP. It had Love's a Bitch, Phantom Rider, To Rock to Roll, Time on the Edge, and Wasted Love. It was 5 songs. And man, really, honestly, the radio station that we were working with at the time, there was a DJ named Malcolm Riker, and he did a locals only show. And he really helped all the little young people that were out. We were all running in demo and stuff and trying to get our show, our stuff on his show. But it was a competitive atmosphere, but at the same time, it was kind of like a little family. We were all like, if one person was doing good, it helped everybody, at their shows. We would all show up and support each other. And when one band got interest, record interest or something, then it made all the other record companies come and start looking around and kind of digging around to see what was going on. So it was a really cool scene. And of course, there was Rock 103 that was there. They were kind of a staple in the city. They were another rock station. So in the late 80s, the rock scene in Memphis was actually really, really alive and kicking. I mean, it was a lot of local bands. There was people coming in. It's kind of like all river cities, it's kind of a transient place. And we had Bill Street, we were all playing there. But it was people coming from Arkansas, from North Mississippi, from down in Alabama. I mean, bands were coming in because it had kind of caught on, and we were all kind of sharing gigs together. And we had some friends that were in a band called Dots that we met and made friends with. And the first gig we ever played, I think we made like $50, and we opened up in front of them. We just thought it was the most killer thing. And we're still friends with them to this day. I mean, we grew up with them in the scene. We stayed friends with them all through our record deals, and them going in the studio and changing their name a couple of times and doing different things. So, and John, our drummer, is actually still friends with the singer now. They still jam together. And I mean, we've known each other for 30 years, Yeah.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, the first time I saw you guys, And I know we've had this conversation before, but we were probably a couple pops to the wind when we had it. But it was on the Wild America record, and you guys were out with Warrant and Lynch Mob. Came through St. Cloud, Minnesota, at Hollenbeck Hall. What do you remember about that tour?
It was amazing. I remember hearing George Lynch would warm up every night, and we would be in the dressing rooms. He would sometimes go in like the bathroom areas because of the reverb and stuff, and he would just sit in there and tear the strings off the guitar. But the one thing I remember, everybody was really kind of cool in those tours. We were lucky. Like, all the crew guys got along, and they treated us well. I mean, as up and coming people, and we were trying to get traction. It was a lot of fun. They were really nice. The gigs were fun. We were playing a lot of colleges, if I remember, as we were going through the country. And that was but they blew us away. We watched their shows every night. At that point, we were at the point where we could kind of stick around for a little while and catch the headliners and stuff. And still make it to the next place. Okay. So, and they put on a hell of a show every night. They had the fans singing, and the singers were amazing. I was just eating it up, man. My eyes were big around as saucers, and I just couldn't believe it.
Well, yeah, and you got to watch Janie Lane every night, and it annoys me when people rip on Janie Lane. It's like, dude, that guy could sing like a motherfucker, and he could write like a motherfucker,
And he had a freaking incredible loyal fan following. I mean, people were crazy. They were singing the words back every night, and I mean, nothing is more rewarding than putting your effort and your time and energy into something that's going to impact somebody, and you see that response every night. And I mean, they always delivered, man. They put on a hell of a show. They had a ton of energy. So that part was a lot of fun. And I just remember we were a little more seasoned on the Wild America tour because the Surprise Attack tour, we had never traveled outside of Memphis. I mean,
who did you tour with on that record?
We started out, we played any place and every place. A&M was so great. They gave us a lot of tour support. And we told them when we very first left, the first place they sent us was up around Manhattan. And our A&R guy at the time was Brian Huttenhauer. He had signed Extreme and Soundgarden, and we were his third band. And he flew and rode in a 15-passenger van with us from Memphis to New York just to see our face. He said, I just want to see your eyes when you see the skyline of Manhattan the first time. And we did. We drove in, we saw it, and then we kept going. And we turned and went over to Staten Island. We were staying in like a little tiny apartment over on Staten Island. It was hilarious. It was 7 of us. It was the 4 guys in the band. We took 3 of our best friends as our crew guys. And so we were like a little group of Vikings. We had never traveled. We wanted to go out and, divide and conquer, whatever we had to do. And, but we launched the record out of the Northeast. We had a management company at the time that was based in Brooklyn, New York. They had a club that was called L'Amours that was super famous back then. And they would put us out in like the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, anywhere within 5 hours of driving home. And we would just play to, at the very beginning, it would be like our manager and maybe 4 or 5 people. And he would clap and go, "What's the name of your record?" And get us to promote it, and it was kind of giving us some tips and stuff. And then what they did is for about, 6 to 8 weeks before the record came out, we kind of did those kind of tours, working our way in. And then we landed in Manhattan when the record came out. And we played like the Cat House or something, I think, that night. And man, I mean, by that point, we had dialed it in. We had been playing, 4 or 5 nights a week and had the set tight. And it was just awesome. And during that period, right when we launched, one of my favorite things ever in the world was we got to open some shows with Kix.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Listen, we had not seen them. We knew the name, but we had not seen their live show. And they freaking blew our mind. I mean, I'm not kidding. And when we were talking before about, about the Monsters of Rock cruise, I've seen them a few times, and we actually saw them in Rocklahoma in 2008, and I got to see them and say hello. And, to us, like, time hadn't passed. They had gone on and been doing, all kind of other projects and touring and all that. And we ran in like we hadn't seen them. It was like a family reunion for us. It was really kind of funny, and they were, very gracious and nice, but I didn't get to see Steve Whiteman then. And so when I went on the cruise this time, of course, it was 2017, and Kix was on there. And so I wanted to see the shows, and of course they killed it. They were awesome, just like they always were. But I happened to see him. I didn't want to bother him, but I happened to see him one night. My wife and I had gone to get like an early dinner, and he walked in with his wife, and there was nobody really around. And I just kind of waved at him, and he kind of waved back. And I said, oh my God, this is a chance for me to say something. And so I kind of went over and met him in the room. And I just said, hey man, I wanted to tell you something. I've never had a chance to just say thank you because of the credibility that we got being associated with them. They turned us on to some freaking awesome, killer rock and roll fans, man. And we played like Hammerjacks in Baltimore with them. We played a couple of theaters up in New York area and stuff like that. And to this day, we still have people that write us and tell us that they saw us with Kicks. And it's like, with social media and stuff the way it is now, people write me and it's something that happened 20 years ago and they remember it like yesterday, and it's like, they go, man, y'all were there and you were with them and they killed it and it was awesome. And I'll tell you this about Steve. He was so nice. He said, man, you know what? You had to go earn it. He said, you had to go out in front of our audience and do it. And I remember being at Hammerjacks walking out and there was like Kicks cereal boxes in the air and people were hollering. But it was so fun. We always would go in a day early to Baltimore after we played with them just because we wanted to go hang out at Hammerjacks a day early and see everybody, and so, but those were fun. We did Kicks dates that were awesome that still stick out. And then we toured with LA Guns and Dangerous Toys. That was one of my favorite tours.
Fucking love those guys, all of them.
Dude, we were with them for 8 weeks. And the first night I think was in Dayton, Ohio. We were in Dayton, Ohio. And the guys said, okay, you got to meet in the lobby at 7:00. We were like, holy crap, it's going to be some kind of strict, laying the law down or something. But man, they brought us in the bar. They took us in, they bought us drinks and they said, you're just going to have the fucking best time of your life, man. We're going to have a ball. And they treated us like awesome. They were already very seasoned veterans and they were having great success with the Cocked and Loaded record. It was just blowing up like crazy. And the Dangerous Toys guys and our band kind of had the Southern thing going on right at the very beginning, So we loved them. We would go watch. Jason still to this day sings his ass off, man. I talked to him maybe a month and a half ago just to call him and say, man, dude, I saw something new that you released and your voice is just, and I saw the stuff from the last cruise. He's just amazing. He hadn't changed a bit. I don't know how he does it.
I know. I fucking love that band. Yeah, but that's the thing that's great about these cruises too, especially for guys like you, because you get to reconnect with all the guys from the back in the day that you have worked with and been out on the road with and stuff.
It was so amazing. And it's so hard. We're like fans. We are fans like everybody else. We're trying to figure like where to go and where to get to see the bright. I got on the boat and Kicks was late one night. I think they played like 10 or 11. And I made the mistake of stopping by my room for a second. And I sat down and I blinked and I looked and thank God I was on the level of the same level of the entry door to the theater. And I just sat up and went, oh my God, Kicks is on. I got to freaking run. I didn't miss, I think maybe just the very beginning, of the first song, but I sat in the very top of the theater by myself and watched the whole show. And it was freaking amazing. It was awesome. But it is great to connect with everybody. We see them and we remember, music is so amazing that way where it just takes you right back to that moment, man. When you experience it and they play a song or something, you go, oh my God, I remember sitting on the side stage and hearing this. And man, it's, I don't know. I don't even know how to put it into words. It's amazing. And, but we don't take it for granted now. We do know how lucky we are that we're kind of getting a chance to go revisit folks. And I think that's what kind of makes right now what we're doing so special is I think we were all kind of anxious to see what it felt like to be together again. Cause we had, before Patrick, kind of was worried with his health and stuff, we were talking about recording and getting together, but we kind of had a little more sense of urgency, when he found out he was sick and then he was okay. We're like, man, you know what? We feel good. We're rested up. We miss everybody. We want to go and just share some time with people. And the response was awesome. People wrote us from all over everywhere, all over social media and just said, hey, please come here, come visit. And so we've been kind of cherry picking, going out to some places that make sense. We went down to Houston, Rachel Ann, in the Monsters of Rock.
Oh, Rachel. Yes. We all know Rachel. Yeah. We love Rachel.
She was amazing. And she had talked to us about getting down there. And then they had the hurricane hit that delayed our going down. And so I think originally we were going at the end of October, 1st November. And which Kicks actually did go down there, right after that, which was pretty amazing. And then I think we went in January, so we had given them a couple months to kind of recover and get down there. But man, they were awesome, and man, we just love being with the people. I mean, it's really fun to go, and we see people that we haven't seen in so long. And it was funny. A merch guy walked up to me. We were out in Kansas City, and he goes, "You don't remember me?" And I said, "I really do."
Wow.
I was like, "Dude, I haven't seen you in like 20 years." It was like we blinked, and it's 20 years later, but it's so fun that those relationships and the memories that we have. We really appreciate it.
How was it for you guys? Because Wild America came out, what, 91?
Yeah,
91.
Out in 92. We were kind of right on the cusp. Right?
Okay, and that's, of course, as we all know, when Nirvana and all that kind of stuff hit. When your genre, even though you guys were one of the bands that kind of stood out to me, you weren't one of the cookie cutter, typical quote unquote, as much as I hate to say it, hair bands.
Yeah.
How was it for you guys as a bunch of young guys still fairly fresh in the business, dealing with, okay, we're on the rise, we're moving up, and all of a sudden, boom, it's gone?
It was pretty stressful. I've got to tell you, man, the record, the Wild America record is my favorite one that we've done so far. I mean, I think every one that you do, you start loving it more because it's like your latest one or whatever. But
yeah,
we spent about 2 years working on the record, and it was because we were still touring. We were still busy. So we were doing, taking stuff off of napkins and little handheld recorders and our little 8-track that we took on the road and all that stuff, and putting stuff together. And we went home and we locked ourselves in Ardent Studios is where we did all of our recording. We signed a production deal with them first, and they shopped us to all the record companies. So there was a guy named John Fry. He was really famous for doing the Big Star records. He had engineered those, and he had turned into more of the business side. And he was kind of our middleman between us and the record labels and all that. But every recording that we'd ever done with Tora Tora, we've always done it there. So we went home, and about a block away was this place called the Tanner Buildings, and they used to be Jingle Studios in the 70s. So they still had the big A room and the B room, and with the 2-inch glass where we could go in there and set up our equipment. And we did all of our pre-production in there with a guy named John Hampton. He was a really great producer that was working out of Ardent, had a lot of success. He was a kick-ass drummer on top of everything else. He was awesome. But he really pushed us into, trying different things. We had matured as players, I guess, is a way to say it, because we had gone on the road for 2 years with Surprise Attack and just freaking were doing it every night. I mean, we were like on autopilot at the end where we could just, we were, we just had it down. And so our chops were better, but he was the guy that brought the keyboard over. And so, that was how, as time goes by, I got started, as me and him were just sitting around with the keyboard laying on a, it was just laying in the corner, and we were sitting there messing around with it. And he just made us grow, I think, as writers and players. And we wrote a shit ton of songs. I bet we wrote 60 or 70 songs for that record.
Oh, wow.
So, and we did that on all 3 of our albums, actually. We would get, we would do it in batches at a time. I guess it's kind of like here in Nashville, how they do the demo sessions. You'll go in and do, 5 songs or something at a time, and then you pick the best one out of that and say, okay, here's the bar, and now let's go write another batch and beat this one. So we did that over 2 years. But when the Wild America came out, we were very excited. Hampton had worked on it, and there was also a guy named Sir Arthur Payson that had worked on the Rat records and Mitch Malloy's record. He came in and did some remixes on 4 songs. And we had a lot of momentum. We had a great, brand as far as ourselves and going out, and we had momentum. But the thing with the grunge thing, a lot of people have asked me this and gone through the years and said, how did you feel about it? And they crushed your career and all that. But we played shows with like Alice in Chains, up in Spokane, Portland. We thought of them as just another rock band. I mean, when we met them, they were down to earth dudes, and their music was kick ass. And we just didn't think of it like, hey, this is going to be a paradigm shift. I mean, this is just going to totally change the way the industry's working right now. And it was definitely the powers that be, the higher up people at the companies that said, hey, we see this as a trend that people are reacting, and this is how we're going to market music now. So there was a little bit of that, of the corporate, decision that was overlying that. But as far as the stuff that we did ourselves, we were very proud of it. I mean, we still think it stands up from back in the day. The thing did. And I don't mean that meaning in an ego way. I think it's just
Right.
because we worked it so hard. It's like we said, man, I think we had worked that until that's as good as it was going to be, and now we got to just lay it down and we're going to move on to the next thing. And but it was stressful. What you said before, a lot of people look at the rock star thing and the being on the road and all that. It's work, man. It's a lot more things going on behind the scenes, and it takes a village of people for you to be successful.
Right.
There's all the pro people, your management teams, your street teams, all these different people that work to make you look like $1 million when you walk out on stage, And at the time, we had a great team of people. The crazy thing that happened with us during Surprise Attack is A&M sold a Polygram right in the middle of our first record. And so we changed distribution companies. We changed, promotion staff out on the field. We had people that we would see in one part of the country one day and, drive to, I'd be in Ohio one day and then be in Texas the next day and they go, "Hey, welcome to Texas. I'm your new promo guy." and they were like, they were awesome. We were not worried about them doing a great job at promoting the record and stuff. It was just weird that their territories were shifting around,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a small circle. As we got older and kind of saw how the industry worked and everything, we realized that everybody knows each other and, they're all buddies and everybody's trying to do a good job at everything they're doing. So, and they all support each other, but it was stressful. Like during that time where it was shifting, it was like, man, we just weren't sure how to navigate the waters. And we were lucky. We had really good management. On the first record, we had Loud and Proud, which was the company I mentioned a minute ago that was in Brooklyn. And then on Wild America, we had Bill Graham out of San Francisco. We had a guy named Morty Wiggins that ended up running A&M a couple of years after he had managed us. And so we did a lot of clubs at that point. Honestly, we talked to the management company in A&M, we said, "Hey man, if you'll give us tour support, we'll stay out here. We don't want to go home. We've really worked on the record and we'll go." And we did. We went out and we worked for about 1.5 years on the road. And as we were doing that, then we kind of started, riding the embers of the Wild America process and started getting into Revolution Day and writing that. And that was when we're talking about, how do you feel and the stress level and all that. The third one was the really stress. Mm-hmm. Because we could feel a shift. When we were out promoting Wild America, we still had our fan base, that was there and supporting us. And not that we didn't have it in '93, but we kind of lost our voice with the corporate wheel. Brian Huttenhauer, the guy that had signed us, Interscope, went to him and offered him a contract to come work for them. Soundgarden had exploded. Extreme had More Than Words that went, crossed over into pop charts. And he just came in and, listen, man, he was one of the most incredible dudes I've ever met in my life. When we did those warehouse parties, he came to the party and our warehouses were lined up. There was a whole row of them. We were in this line of buildings. So when one of these parties would end at 4:00 in the morning, we would have to go clean the parking lot up because these 18-wheelers would start pulling in and to load from the other docks.
Right.
And Brian Huttenhauer stayed and got in the back of an old Chevy pickup with us and rode around while we were picking up beer bottles and pizza boxes and stuff.
Wow.
And when they asked us, they said, 5 or 6 record labels are talking to y'all. What do you think? We said, we like Brian because he was like the most genuine guy. He seemed like he was the guy that was most into what we were doing and kind of got it. And so fast forward up to Revolution Day, when he was offered that gig, he just came in and told us, he said, "Man, this is like an opportunity of a lifetime. I've worked, really hard for this." And it's like, he didn't say a house in Hollywood Hills, but it was like everything he would ever want, in a gig. And we loved him. We were like, "Man, of course you're going to take it." But at the same time, we didn't understand the corporate will, like you do now in perspective of looking back, is that he was our voice and our champion. And so that definitely had an effect on the stress level and everything that happened, because all of a sudden we got assigned a new, A&R guy, a new regime of people that were coming in, and we were totally panicking. They came into Memphis and we said, picked the phone up and said, call the Memphis Horns, call everybody and tell them to come down here, because we don't know how much time we've got. We want to record while we're still in the studio. Let's get them in here and wrap it up. And we were actually close to the mastering phase when we found out that the record probably wouldn't come out. So we had done all the work and got right to the end right before it comes out. and got the news, and it was pretty wild. I mean, when people tell you stories of, you go from like your phone ringing off the wall till it's hard to get somebody to call you back. It was definitely that kind of scenario. And because we stayed in Memphis, we didn't feel, and I don't mean this weird, but I don't think we felt it as quickly and as hard as it hit in like LA. It kind of trickled over to us. And back then I was running the streets of Memphis pretty hard. I was going to a lot of the, places on Beale Street and all that. And I got to know this guy. He was a soul singer, and he was about as big around as a freaking green bean. He wore a little hat on his head, but he sang like freaking Al Green and Otis Redding. And man, he was a crooner. He had like chicks crawling all over him. He smoked Salem and drank whiskey, and I just loved him. His name was James Covan. And I would go sit in, he had a B3, he had a horn section, and we'd sit around and laugh and drink and talk. And so the day I found out my record deal was going to go away, I jumped in my Jeep, I drove to Beale Street, and I found him. And he was like sitting in a little, corner bar. He had about 3 or 4 chicks sitting there with him, and he was smoking a cigarette. And I ran in, in a total panic. And I said, man, what am I going to do, man? I'm a singer, and my record deal's supposed to go away. And he said, man, you just going to keep singing, man. You sing, and he just had this kind of calm about him that I just went, oh my God, I'm going to be okay. I think, I don't know how to navigate this decision right now, but I think I'm going to be all right. And in retrospect, I think the way that everything was supposed to play out with us played out the way it did. Keith, our guitar player, had gotten married, and he was getting ready to have a son. So he was kind of trying to figure out like how he was going to deal with the road, being on the road and having a new baby and all that kind of stuff. And there was all these dynamics behind the scenes. We were very, very close. I mean, I don't have any brothers or anything. They're the closest thing to brothers. I've got one sister, but we were like a family. I mean, we went through all this whole process of the highest, shouting from the summit of the mountain to being in these really dark, deep valleys where we were worried, just going, what the fuck, man, is going on, And so we were really close. So when we kind of felt that, the tension and everything, it was kind of freaking us out. We just kind of got to the point where we said, let's just take a break. And if we want to get back together when the time's right, we'll do it. And, in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be like a month. I was like, I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. And actually it took 7 years before we saw each other again.
Wow.
And it wasn't that we weren't bumping into each other or checking on each other, but it just, we weren't, jamming out and living every day of your life with each other. So that was kind of a big hiatus, and it was weird. One of our crew guys had a health issue, and we got together to raise some funds for him. And I'll never forget it because it was the day before 9/11, and I'm not kidding. And we got together, and it was such an awesome night. And we had the best time, and we were just on cloud nine. And the next morning, my phone just kept ringing and ringing and ringing. I was like, man, I stayed out all night last night. Who the hell's calling me over and over in the morning? Right. And then finally we heard somebody say, turn your, fucking TV on, man. The world is crashing. Look at what's going on. And so, that was a sobering moment, I guess you could say, literally, and everything. We just kind of said, oh my God, what the hell's going on? The world's changing. But then after that, we kind of stayed in touch with each other after that. I mean, I didn't mean to get sidetracked on the 9/11 thing. But
No. It's all good.
It was like a huge moment. And but anyway, we kind of stayed in touch. And I think we always will be connected no matter what, just because of how we grew up and the friendships that we had. And it is about family, man. The more that I kind of savor all this stuff that's kind of happening now, is everything that happened to our band was kind of family oriented. Even the fans that started out with us were our friends that we went to school with. I mean, they took ownership of our band and introduced us to the freaking world. They were the ones calling MTV, 100 times to try to get us up on a countdown. And then through their support, we went to these other regions of the country and started finding our tribe. It's like our little group of people. And it's what Larry and all of these people with Monsters of Rock and the fans, that's what's going on now. It's just like a big family. You go in, you see these people, it's like a family reunion. We look forward to seeing them. You reconnect with people that you hadn't seen in forever. And through technology and everything, we have an opportunity to talk to each other. And it's just amazing to me. And I really feel like we had a culture of that with Tora Tora from the very beginning. Of we wanted to create a place where people could come. We were underage. We didn't have anywhere to go see music. So we said, hey, let's create it. Let's invite everybody in, and they can be part of what's going on while we're rehearsing and doing our live show, figuring our shit out. And it expanded. We couldn't believe it. I mean, when it happened, we were like, when we went on MTV Headbangers Ball, we used to watch it every weekend. And then we were sitting across from Adam Curry and going, oh my God, this is the dude, man. I mean,
right.
We couldn't believe it. It was the most amazing thing. And then with Ricky later on, we went and did that. He had taken it to a whole nother level. And it was just, I mean, it was incredible. We couldn't believe it. And I think the other thing about us, and I know this probably resonates with a lot of the musicians, is we didn't take it for granted that it was going to last forever. We wanted to ride the lightning, man. We said, listen, if it ends tomorrow, we've had the best time of our life, and we didn't miss a fucking thing. We did everything we wanted to. And it was amazing. I mean, we really, and I think that is another reason that we are enjoying ourselves so much on this time of getting together and doing a project. And it's kind of like, we wondered what it was going to sound like. And right when we walked in, Keith is playing through the same rack from 1989.
Of course he is.
He's got Crown amps. He's got like a little BBE. He's got his pedal thing set up. And listen, when he turns on, I smell stale beer and cigarettes. And I'm like, I am freaking ready, man. I'm ready to rock.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. But we picked up like right where we left off. I mean, and the songs were so excited. We can't wait to share them with y'all. We're about 9 songs in as far as pre-production, getting the arrangements. We're still, whittling out some lyrics, but we've got the, basics of the arrangements and everything together. We're going to record it in Memphis. It's going to happen over the summer.
Sun Studios?
We are going to do it at Sam Phillips Studio, believe it or not.
Oh, my God.
The street from Sun. When Sam sold Sun Records to RCA, he moved down the street and built a studio. It's on the same street as Sun. But it's the decor and everything is just like he left it. It's the bar where Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison and them drinks. It's all still sitting in there. And our friend Jeff Powell is cutting vinyl in there. Okay. Jeff Powell was an assistant engineer on Wild America. He was about our age when we were doing the record. He was the guy that he got locked in the studio with us at night to make sure we didn't push the record button when we were partying and stuff. We would have people in the studio with us. And man, there was a bar next door to Ardent called Molly's La Casita. It was a Mexican restaurant. And we got to know everybody that worked there. And we would kidnap the people that worked there and bring them to the studio with us. They'd bring us, we'd get a bucket of margaritas and come over and we'd crank the music wide open and party all night. And Jeff was the guy that was responsible at the studio. He was like, nobody can touch the freaking board over here. Okay. You can crank it up. Here's the volume knob. Don't touch anything else. And he was amazing. But I mean, he kind of grew up with us too. If we weren't on the road, Ardent was kind of like our college. If we didn't go on the road to go on a tour date, we were in there bugging the shit out of them every day. I mean, we were in there talking to them and they were trying to work and we were just, going in and carrying on just random conversations with them. And so anyway, when we did the benefit for Patrick, Jeff actually came out and spoke to the audience. We were doing some fundraising stuff for his medical bills and Jeff came up. And so a couple of months later, he wrote me and he said, hey man, I'm down here cutting vinyl. Do you guys want to come down and do 2 singles with me? And he didn't know this, but at the time we were negotiating with Frontiers. So I wrote him back and I said, hey man, instead of doing 2 songs, we want to do a full project. We'd come and, record with you. And I'm so excited because he really knows us because he was there when we were at the very beginning and he kind of watched us grow up. He was there for Wild America and we're all kind of the same age. He's had a lot of success. He worked on like Family Style. He's won Grammys and all kinds of stuff with the Stevie Ray and he and his wife Susan that he's married to, she sang on our records. She was with a band called Mother Station that was signed out of Memphis and she's a badass singer and we love them to death. We grew up with them. So when we're getting back to that kind of that theme, the family theme, he's part of our family. So we feel like this is gonna be like a really special project. We're going to cut it really live. It'll probably be the closest thing to us live. You know, back in the day, not that we're not going to spend time working on it. I mean, we're definitely going to tweak it, but back in the day, you used to rent a studio and we'd block it for 8 weeks, and we'd sit around and, you know, get drum sounds for a week, and we'd change out heads and change the snares. And, you know, it was a different process than it is nowadays. Yeah. And we're going to be much more efficient because of technology, because of the way he records. He likes to kind of mix it as he goes, and we kind of go in there and just catch the vibe of our band. And I do think that, and everybody that does this, that's in a band that plays together, is there's like this chemistry thing that happens when you're just there on the spot and you're doing it and you go for it. And we were going to try to capture that. And the songs are really fun. I mean, I think people are going to really dig what we're doing. We haven't veered off very far. We've kind of stayed true to who we were as we went from Surprise Attack to Wild America to Revolution Day. And then we released some outtake records too that you guys could kind of hear behind the scenes, the ones that didn't come, you know, make it to the final, like, major label releases. We kept a kind of a consistency, man. We still are kind of that bluesy kind of, you know, blues based, straight ahead, straight up rock and roll kind of band. And I think we're toying with the title of Bastards of Bill. So you know, like Bill Street in Memphis. So there was an article that came out in one of the magazines. We're going to have to credit the person that wrote this, and forgive me for right now, I'm drawing a blank of who it was, but they did an article on us, and that was the title of it, Bastards of Bill Street. And so we've all been, you know, we're giddy like a bunch of little kids, man. We're texting each other and sending guitar riffs and all that. We're so, you know, excited to get the opportunity to do it again. But we got to think about it. We're like, man, you know, that kind of fits. I mean, we definitely kind of had that blues influence thing on us, but we're not just a straight up, you know, blues band that would be sitting down there doing the touristy thing every night, you know? So I'm kind of excited about that. And then I think there's going to be 11 tracks on it. So we're just a couple away from, we're kind of, you know, I know you've heard this a million times when you're interviewing people. It's kind of like we have overwritten because we knew everybody was going to throw a bunch of ideas in the pot. So now you're kind of protecting your little babies. You know, you kind of see the ones that, oh man, there's one or two that's on the fence, but we got these ones that we're definitely sold on. And then, you know, then as individually, as we throw in ideas, we're kind of fighting for the ones you want to, you know, see represented. So
how you've been working in publishing for a long time, correct?
Yeah.
How much? Well, just before you answer, before you go off for another 45 minutes, which I'm okay with. How much of being in publishing and hearing other people's music and trying to figure out what's good helps you with your own music?
Well, number one, I'm super inspired. I moved up here to Nashville in 2005. I went to work for Sony Records, RCA, in artist development and marketing. So I kind of flipped gears. And when I met my wife and had children, I kind of shifted gears from being on the road. I don't really know how to describe it. I went out to Seal Beach, and it was Patrick and I were actually doing a project together with another guitar player, Hal McCormick. And I was sitting on the beach, man. The wind was blowing. The boats were going by. I had my guitar in my lap, and I was like, dude, this is everything I would ever want. But my family wasn't with me, and I was gone for like 2 weeks, and I had a new bride, a new baby. And I was like, man, you know, maybe I need to just take a break. I was kind of honky tonkin'. I was playing a lot of really, you know, late night gigs in Memphis. I kind of got in that little kind of catch-22 of kind of running around and catching the easy money at home. And I just told Anita, I called her. When I got off the airplane in Seal Beach, the people went, let's party, you know, and I went, dude, I do that every night. I want to write a record. I want to just chill out and get my acoustic and, you know, get inspired. And I don't know, maybe I was just in a burnout phase, or I know people go through this, but I just told Anita, I said, I think I want to come home and take a break for a minute. And when I did, you know, I had left high school my senior year to do the rock and roll thing. So I dropped out of high school. And when I came home from that trip, Anita was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't have any. I've been a singer my whole life, you know, freaking 15 years into a singing career. And so I went back to school. I went and got my bachelor's and my master's degree. And I think what had happened is, I mentioned to you earlier, John Fry, the guy that owned Ardent Studios, he was kind of like a father figure to our band. He was the guy that he took us in a boardroom and he drew a circle on the wall and he put one little tiny line in it. And he said, "That's you, and this is everybody else that's going to be digging in your pocket," you know. And we were like, "Great, where do we sign up?"
Of course.
Can we go make, you know, our own music and go around and go tour? But it was him and another guy, Richard Sanders, that was one of our first managers. They were kind of like the mentor type dudes, and I didn't realize it at the time, like how they were influencing me and how much of an impact they were going to have on me. But I felt like that I wanted to be that dude to somebody else. And Richard, actually, at the time that I moved to Nashville, he was running RCA in New York. And so he told me, he said, if you ever, you know, get to the point where you want to switch gears, you know, let me know. I might could make some introductions for you. So he definitely changed the whole track of my life. And that's kind of what got me here. I worked at the labels. I went behind the scenes as a singer. Seeing all the activity behind the scenes blew my mind. We didn't have any idea any of these conversations were happening. We were just trying to, you know, make it to the next gig and make sure we had our strings and we were showing up to the right place. And when I went behind the scenes, I realized like how much and how important having a champion in those boardrooms and in those corporate settings was. And, but it led me back to publishing. It kind of led me back to being around creative people. I shifted gears. I was in publishing for about 6 or 7 years. And I was in the country market, so it's kind of weird. I went from being like heavy metal singer to I was in the country market, which was really weird. And I actually worked in the Christian market too. But it was really kind of cool to get those different perspectives. And as far as the craft of writing, I think it had a super influence on me because I saw so many people that were incredible that nobody had ever heard of. And they were just wanting to be writers. They didn't want to be a singer on the stage. They just wanted to walk out to their mailbox and get their check and be creative and be home every night, you know? But I do think that it has influenced me like as a person. I mean, I've always been kind of singer-songwriter mindset, you know. Anyway, it was funny when Keith and I got together at the beginning. I was kind of the acoustic guy and he was the, you know, the Marshall on 12. And so we kind of had that mix going together. And then now, you know, as we've grown older, I've kind of expanded and he has too, to where he's sending me things and we go, this is so weird. It's almost like we've switched roles for a second, you know, because we're in some crazy ass tunings and just showing each other shit. So that part's kind of fun. But I don't know, overall, the experience of being in the publishing world, it was super eye-opening, number one. And it's your livelihood as somebody creative that's creating content and all that. The copyright is super important, man. I mean, that's something that it's an asset. It's going to have an effect on your life. It could be something we create right now, me and you together, and it may not have an impact for 5 or 10 years down the road, you know? So that part's exciting. And I still do. I think my heart is still geared towards people that are just starting out, you know, the young people that are just kind of green as a gourd, like we were right when we started, man. They're chomping at the bit. And I selfishly want to work with them because I look at these folks as like they're focus groups for me. I look at them, I'm like, how are you going to win an audience nowadays? Man, there's so much technology. We're all getting plummeted with please like me or go here or buy my thing or, you know, what's going to work for you and how are you going to be able to sustain yourself? This to me is what I would say to people. I'm the entertainment business program chair for SAE in Nashville. It's an audio school, but I do the entertainment business side. And what we talk about is, you know, what do you feel like defines success, you know? And to me, it's being able to do something you love and sustain yourself. If you can do that, that's being successful in the music business nowadays. You have to find your small tribe and just freaking go kill it, man. Go have a ball with those people. They become your support system, you know? And that's it. It's about relationships, man. All the stuff that we do is about the people we meet, the relationships that we have. That's the value, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I know what you mean, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it hasn't been for the relationships that I've made up until this point. Do you still have a few more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short little break. You can get yourself a drink of water.
Okay.
I'm just going to cough. Going to play a couple commercials, and we'll be right back. But right before we go, I do need to tell you guys about Beater Amplification. That's Beeter. Anthony, you've heard the Beater. One of my drunken video when I was playing Amnesia. Yeah. The fucking Beater. These are hand-wired, handmade amps. These things are balls out rock and roll tone, but they're the most versatile amps I've ever fucking played. You can get this clean old school Fender tone and go for this balls out fucking Marshall tone, and you get them all. They're hand wired, they're tube, 100 watts, pull tubes, 2 tubes, you got a 50. Check out Beater Amplification, and also check out John Palumbo Design. If you need something designed, call John Palumbo. He can design it for you. Websites, band designs, anything you need designed. Call John Palumbo. John Palumbo Design. It's another fucking podcast. We'll be right back with more from Anthony Corder of Tora Tora. RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out RockstarLeatherworks.com.
If you need to promote your band or business, or just want to stylize, personalize, or customize your ride, check out vid-decals.com. Want to create and customize your own stickers representing your band, or make your own bumper sticker? Vid Decals can do it. All stickers are printed on quality vinyl and can be placed on any flat surface. Stickers are an affordable way to promote your band or business. Go to vid-decals.com to get started. That's vid-decals.com. vid-decals.com.
Retro Arcade brings Minnesota and surrounding areas arcade games from the days gone by. All of those great games from pizza joints and arcades are available in cocktail units and custom machines. Dozens of favorites from your youth in one machine to complete your game room or man cave. Retro Arcade also sells and services your favorite pinball machines. Find them at facebook.com/80arcade. That's facebook.com/80arcade. Retro Arcade. Your youth is just one click away.
Hey, what's going on? This is Tom Arnold. I like fat women and cocaine. And you're listening to Izzy Presley here on another fucking podcast. And I know Izzy from Cocaine Anonymous meetings. I've actually seen him at the meetings with Ace Von Johnson from, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but Ace has got a bad coke problem. And his sponsor is Josh Todd from, and again, I shouldn't say this out loud, but Josh is his sponsor for Buck Cherry. He's addicted to upskirt porn. And they're both being sponsored by the Eagles. The whole band, the Eagles. Anyways, another fucking podcast right here with Izzy Presley, and call your sponsor. Fucking A.
Oh, I love that Craig Gasliner. Anthony, wait till you listen back and hear that Craig Gasliner. It's fucking golden. Anthony Corder from Tora Tora is still on the show with me here on another fucking podcast. And one thing that we kind of talked about before we came on the air was, just being around Memphis and being around and you were talking about like the Memphis Horns, and then I started talking about Donald Duck Dunn.
Yeah,
and you're in Nashville now too. So I mean, what? Not only growing up and then getting into the music business, but being able to be involved and being around these kind of people.
And it was incredible. I mean, we were just blown away. We on the second record. We actually had a couple of different sessions where we had horn players. Bobby Keys and Jim Price came in, and they hadn't seen each other in 20 years. They had done Bitch, and the Rolling Stones together. Jim had written all that. So we got to witness that. And then the Memphis Horns, Jim did the more kind of busy parts, and we were sitting there talking about it. We're like, man, if we do this, we almost need a horn section on the road with us. The Memphis Horns happened to be in town. They were traveling with Sting and Robert Cray. They were kind of going between those two guys. And so they said, get them in. And like I was telling you before we were on the podcast, that they came into our rehearsal place, man. And we felt like we had known them our whole life. The minute we started talking to them, they started talking about, traveling around with Otis and just saying, dude, we were, multicultural band riding around in the South in the late 60s. And they were like, man, we would be scared to pull over to get something to eat because we didn't know what was going to happen. And when we were with them, it was Wayne and Andrew with the main Memphis Horns then traveling. And they had gone through all these experiences, everything from Otis to doing Elvis to, I mean, they had played on 300 number ones probably by the time we met them.
Jesus
They were
Christ.
the most humble people I've ever met in my life. I mean, they just stood there and said, you know, Wayne was like, dude, I'm a guy from Arkansas. I grew up in a cotton field, and I get to play trumpet for a living, and I don't take it for granted. And I mean, they had done the stuff out in Vegas with Elvis and stuff. You know,
Wow.
they were telling stories about that. But anyway, we remained friends with them until they passed away. I mean, Wayne was one of my dearest friends. He actually moved up here to Nashville at one point. We would see each other here, and then he moved back to Memphis a few years back. And but he was always great. I mean, it was funny at the time. This was way before I met my wife or whatever. But when I was dating girls and I was home, he would say, "Hey, why don't you bring them over to the house? You know, and we'll have dinner." And I mean, it was a total, like, I could impress him. I'd walk in, there was all these records, gold records and stuff on the wall. He'd get his trumpet out and put the mute in it, and we'd get the acoustic out and play blues songs and stuff. I mean, it was just, he was like a sweetheart of a dude. He was like, dude, you're going to have the greatest date of your life, man. This is going to be awesome, you know? And so they were just real close and dear to us. Amazing musicians. They knew each other like inside out. They would sit in the studio with like one ear off, earphone off, and be talking like as the track is coming up, you know, the meter where they're supposed to come in, and then all of a sudden they just go bah, you know, and like hit the note, and you're like, dang, man, dude. I mean, it was just, they were just so fun, and real sweet guys. We stayed in touch with them. We got to do, somebody just posted one of our A&M, we're on the A&M social media page, and it was a picture of us backstage at the Pyramid in like 1993 or something. We played their 25th anniversary party. We were the only heavy metal hard rock band on there. It was all like Rufus Thomas and Carla Thomas and Michael McDonald, the guys from Marshall Tucker.
Oh,
so
wow.
they were kind of Southern rock, but they were kind of, I think it was only like one guy, like the lead singer, like Ty, that was there. But anyway, we played with a 7-piece horn section of B3. We did like Walking Shoes and Dead Man's Hand. It was freaking,
dude, that's badass.
one of the best nights. And so we did that one with them. And then right after that, we did a amphitheater in Memphis. It was a 5,000 seat place. We were raising awareness for a charity called MIFA, the Metropolitan Interfaith Association. And we invited the Memphis Horns to come do it, and they showed up. They came, and man, it was one of the favorite gigs I've ever done in my life. I mean, it was so cool. It was outdoors. We broke an attendance record at night. People brought cans of food for the Interfaith Association. And somebody was smart enough back in those days when we didn't have technology, somebody documented that and got us like backstage with them and, you know, turning up bottles of vodka and waving at everybody and having a ball. And it was just, man, some of the greatest memories of my life. But we loved them. And they worked on Wild America. They played on Dead Man's Hand and Nowhere to Go But Down. And then they worked with us again on Revolution Day. So they did a couple of songs with us on that. So.
Well, and it's badass. You got to play with them live instead of just in the studio, you know. That's
man.
Dude, that's fucking killer.
It was so great. They were just, and they sounded amazing every time. They always sounded great.
In your time off from, you know, being out on stage and your time, you know, working for Sony and doing all that kind of stuff, or RCA, how much were you singing at that time? And if it wasn't that much, did that have an effect on how you can still pull off what you're used to be able to do?
Well, that's a great question. It's kind of like use it or lose it, honestly. I've never turned off the creative part of me, man. I thought I was going to when I moved up here. I went into a corporate gig and I was like, you know, this is going to be me now. And I went in and sat down in like this little corner office, man. I was like, man, who the fuck am I? I'm like typing on a computer. I got like an office and there's like all this music sitting around and stuff. And I was like, I'm having a freaking identity crisis. You know, what the hell's going on? And I walked out in the hall and I happened to bump into a guy that was in like the promotion department. And I said, hey man, I'm a singer. I'm freaking out. I'm in this record label now. I mean, and he goes, dude, everybody here is just like you, like kick ass at what you do. You know, he said, just kick ass at what you do. And he said, on your own time, you know, go out, network and start doing what you're, you know, passionate about. And I kind of eased back into it. You know, I missed that. It was such a big part of our life for so long. And we started really young. So that part of me is always there. I thought it would turn off like a faucet, and you can't. I mean, it'll drive you nuts, and I don't know how to explain that to anybody. If you're creative, you will probably understand this, but that drive doesn't go away. When you do try to turn it off, you use your creativity in a different way. So when I was working for the record labels, if it was a marketing thing or something like that, I'd try to be creative in the, strategies I was coming up with or whatever. So it's a different kind of creative feeling. But when you were asking about how did it affect my singing, I think it had a dramatic effect on it. I think for a while I was kind of on autopilot. I could probably, drink shooters and stand on my head, and I didn't have an issue. When coming back from not doing it for a while was kind of anxiety a little bit, because I was like, man, people have this kind of perception in this way that they want me to be, and I want to make sure I deliver. And so a little bit of it is I'm good and rested. So that was one thing that I had going for me. I was like, dude, I haven't blown it yet, thank
Yet.
God. And maybe I need to find a tree out here in the yard to knock on real quick. But I feel good. That's one thing. And then I've met some incredible singers up here in Nashville. One thing, this is going to be really funny. There's a girl here named Brandy Goldsboro.
Oh, I know Brandy.
Yeah. Okay.
She
so
fucking cracks me up.
She's amazing. But because of her, I'm not kidding. This is going to sound like I'm getting sappy or something, but she actually connected me to my tribe here in Nashville. And it's, I owe her a debt of gratitude, and I've taken her to lunch many times and reminded her to say that to her, to say, hey man, I was here working corporate gigs and publishing and floating around and kind of just trying to find myself, I guess. I don't know how to say it the right way, but I bumped into her by accident working in the publishing world. And the story was, I called her office and she goes, hey, Quarter, is this Anthony Quarter from TORA TORA? And I said, what? Nobody in this city knows about TORA TORA. Nobody's ever asked me that. I had lived here probably 3 or 4 years, or I don't remember how long at that point. And she said, man, I think I have your record in my car. And I said, I'm driving to your office right now. I'm just coming. Where are you? I'm coming to meet you. And so I went and met her, and she introduced me to the guys in the rock and roll residency.
Oh, I love those guys.
So before they were the residency, what happened was they did a tribute night to Aerosmith, and it was Rocks and Toys in the Attic back to back. They did both records, and every song they had a different singer join them. And I went to this rehearsal, man. I was working in publishing at the time, and I took a lunch break, and I was just going to run by there and do my song, and leave. And I pulled up, man. I could hear the music behind the house, when I stopped the car, and it was rumbling, and I said, oh yeah, I remember this. And then I got about halfway around the house, and a big puff of smoke hit me in the face, and I went, oh yeah, man, I remember this, man. I got around the corner, man, and looked up, and it was freaking John Corabi was standing there. And I said, oh my God. And I had never met him. I was a huge fan of his from the Scream, Man in the Moon. And I said, oh my God, I fucking can't believe this guy's standing here. And I was trying to, not freak out,
Yeah.
So I was just real cool, walked up and said, how's it going? And he said, hey man, everybody's inside, and it was this room, man. And I'm not kidding. I opened the door and it was amps stacked to the ceiling. There was about 20 people crammed in there. And I just went, oh my God, I love this. I forgot. I remember why I love this so much. And I went in, and it was Phil and Jeremy, Sarah Tomac that's playing with Steven Tyler now. She's a drummer in his band. They're actually playing here in Nashville tonight at the Fontanelle. But she was slamming drummer. But they were all singing. They said, hey, you want to do your song? And I was like, no, man, I'm just going to sit here. I was thinking. And I never went back to work. I just sat there and grabbed a beer and sat down and said, oh, man, I found my group, man. They're some of the most talented guys,
Yeah.
and the most humble people that I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
I mean, they're the sweetest people. And you see them on stage and you go, oh my God, this guy fucking just blew my face off. And then you sit there and talk to them, and they're like the nicest person you've ever met in your life. I mean, that just goes so far for me when you're meeting people that you look up to, and they turn out being just killer people.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody listening that doesn't know by now, but the residency is also Gene Simmons' solo band,
right?
And they deserve it so much because they're just Kiss geeks.
Hell
and
yeah,
they're just pros. And they deserve it more than anybody.
Yeah, they're great guys, man. But yeah, we just think the world of them. But Yeah. So, but they kind of led me back into, singing. I've been kind of guest doing things with them and jamming with them a little bit. And, I've always kept playing and singing and writing. I haven't turned that off. That part of it, even if I was just doing acoustic stuff, stylistically and all that, we have different influences nowadays, but just because of our life experience and stuff, we've been around so much different things now. But man, that little, rowdy garage band, kick-ass little fuckers are still in there. They're still inside of us somewhere. And we still enjoy it, doing the music that we're doing. I mean, we're digging where we are right now. So
when can we expect the new record? Is there a time frame, or is it just as soon as we get it done type thing?
It's going to be delivered in the fall, early fall. I'm guessing probably first of 2019. I don't want to, step out of bounds with Frontiers because I know they have scheduling and all that, but it's my understanding that it's going to be early 2019. So it'll be finished and wrapped up. We through our scheduling and everything, we got it wrapped up by August. So.
All right, we got some listener feedback, questions, and comments here. Jay Ladd says, "My wife and I met you on the cruise. Thank you for taking the time and not being in a hurry while we were talking to you." Let's see. And Bruce says, "Love hearing good old Southern accent from a kick-ass rocker." Nick Davis says, "Wild America rocks. Faith Healer is the best song ever."
Oh man.
And I actually had some people asking about iTunes and the older stuff. Is that, no, he said he was looking for, I think, Wild American. It wasn't on there.
Yeah, it's, I've actually had this discussion with a couple people. When A&M sold to Polygram and then Polygram got acquired by Universal, it's all these corporations are eating each other up. I think it's maybe a Universal issue that it's just not out yet, but we're working on getting it out for people. Please reach out to us on our website. I'd like to tell everybody that TORATORAmusic.com. I can help you if you're looking for things for yourself. I can help you get a hold of the things that you need.
Because I have a good friend from back home that he used to play that Wild America, cassette over and over and over.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the one that was asking about it, and he's like, "Well, dude," and the fucking CDs I find are they're all like $40, and what do I do?
Well, tell him to reach out to us on our website. We can help you. And the other thing is, man, about that record is Amnesia and Faith Healer both. We wrote those with Taylor Rhodes, and he had produced some of the kick stuff. He was living here in Nashville, so we had kind of a early on connection in Nashville a long time ago, back in the 90s. We didn't ever come up here on like Music Row where the country writers were, but we thought so much of the Kicks guys, their production, the songwriting they were doing with him, that we came up and we hit it off with him right away. We worked on Amnesia and Faith Healer, and then we came back during Revolution Day and wrote a couple more with him. There's one on Revolution Day called Shelter from the Rain. I think that was one that we really liked a long time ago. That was.
Now, is that available anywhere? Because that's right, you said it just came out in 2011, correct?
Yeah, it is. If you go to fnarecords.net, fnarecords.net, it's a friend of ours that was up here that he approached me. It's kind of a one-man shop, but he asked me if we had any, previously unreleased material. He was kind of, I guess, asking about our EP, the one, TORA TORA or whatever. He was talking to us if we on that stuff. And then we got to thinking about some of the things that we had, like that were on cassettes and on DATs. I mean, we thought DATs were going to be the big thing, a million years ago. So we had all this stuff, and we were like, you know what? Maybe we could just put it in the right, chronological order of just put a few of the projects together and give them behind the scenes look. And so there's Bombs Away, which is a surprise attack outtakes. There's Misbehaving, which is the Wild America stuff. Revolution Day, and the Revolution Day stuff is the demos for the record. They're very good quality because they were in Ardent, but we don't own the masters, so we couldn't do the masters to it. But we had some of the demo stuff, and it's the full project. What happened was we heard some people had pirated it, and they had done it. I believe it was off a cassette because the speed was different. And so we said, if they're going to have it anyway, let's at least put out something that's, the right quality.
Right.
So that Revolution Day is a good one. It's fun, and it's a little, it's a little dark period in our history, but we're still proud of the stuff that we worked on. There's a few songs on there that we're really, really crazy about that we still do them live. Revolution Day and Mississippi Voodoo Child are two of them that we keep in our, alternating in our set all the time. So.
All right. We got Chris from the Decibel Geek podcast checking in. Can't wait to see Anthony and Tora Tora at the Nashville Rockin' Pod Expo, which they want me to come to.
Yes.
But I told him, I was like, well, I'm poor. So if you guys are flipping the bill to get me out there, I'll fucking do it in a heartbeat.
You got to get out there. You got to get that. Listen, the thing that Chris is doing is amazing. We've got a really exciting announcement that we're going to do in conjunction, coordinated with them. So you guys stay tuned for that. We're going to make a big announcement about that. But Patrick and I participated last year. And man, just a huge hats off to Chris for putting it together. It was a big undertaking. He had a lot of people show up, a lot of bands. We bumped into our old buddies, the Every Mother's Nightmare guys were out there hanging out with us, and Todd Poole from Roxy Blue. We were all kind of a little group of the Memphis bands that kind of all grew up together. So you get a lot of access to the artists. Everybody's really chill and cool, and they had some panels with some incredible speakers. So that was amazing. And it's going to do nothing but get bigger and better every year. I know Chris is like an amazing dude, and we're really, really happy that we bumped to him and everything he's doing. So we want you to come, man. You got to come out here.
We're going to have to start a fundraiser or something because I am I'm so poor I can't afford the OR. I'm po. But it is what it is. But Anthony, dude, thank you so much for checking in. We could sit and talk for 3 hours.
Listen, I hope I didn't talk your ear off.
Oh, God, no, man. I love this shit.
Listen, I can't thank you enough for just giving us an outlet and for supporting us and letting us, reach out to the fans. It means the world to us, man. I really appreciate it. I hope you know that.
Well, dude, and I appreciate you. And that's all that matters. I mean, because you put up with my drunken ramblings. You guys ever need another guitar player? You call me.
I love it, man.
I'm fucking hammered. But anything else? All the social media you need to plug?
Yeah, just reach out to us. Tora Tora on Facebook. Please reach out to us. We're on Instagram and Twitter as well. You can find us really easy. Tora Tora Band on there. Yeah, and I really want to tell you guys to go to our website, Tora Tora Music, toratoramusic.com, and we've got merch on there. We were so lucky to run into the people from Right Rock on the Monsters Rock cruise. They're taking great care of us. We've got new shirts with our kind of our black and white, the Wings logo, and then we also have just recently added the Surprise Attack Girl is back out, and we've got it in the women's sleeveless tees. We got men's t-shirts, all sizes. We've got patches. We've got, freaking koozies. We've got coasters, anything, whatever. You guys write us. Tell us what you want. We're listening to you guys. We work for you, all you guys out there. The only thing that matters is you guys are happy. So, just reach out and tell us what you want, and we'll do our best to supply it.
Awesome, man. I love it. Hold on, because I want to say goodbye off the air. Just got to do my little closeout thing here. Anthony Corder from Tora Tora. Dude, thank you so much. We'll talk to you in like 1 second here, all right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for checking in on this special Saturday afternoon edition of another fucking podcast. Anthony Corder from Tora Tora. Yeah! Make sure you do check out all the social media. Izzy Presley 1 on Facebook, another effing podcast on Facebook. The Twitter machine and Instagram is Real Izzy Presley on my quest for 1 million followers. Not anywhere close. If you want to donate to the show, please do. It's paypal.me/Izzy Presley, and I'll send you my voice doing ways that I recorded while taking a shit. And also, I'm not lying, dude. I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. Also, please support all the sponsors like A&P Laser. A&P Laser Productions. It's that time of year. I'm doing a fucking spot over my closing music, but I don't care. A&P Laser, aplaser.com. It's Mother's Day. It's graduation. Father's Day's coming up. Buy your friend a flask, and get your go fuck yourself written on it. Whatever. It's aplaser.com. They'll take care of you. We'll see everybody in a week and a half when I get back from Minnesota. I do love you all, and would you please kindly go fuck yourselves.